the call with me today. Thank you. On the call with me today, I have my colleague, Jennifer. Jennifer, do you want to say hi?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, my name is Jennifer, the Programs Administrator here at VC4A. We are happy to see you all here.
Welcome to today's info session.
And then
kindly listen attentively.
And if you have any
questions,
we're here to
answer them.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. You might want to tune up your volume when next you want. We didn't hear you very well. Okay. All right. I also have on the call with me another colleague, Agnes. Agnes, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Agnes. I am the Communications and Marketing Associate at VC4A. Thank you all for joining in. And if you have questions, just like Jennifer said, kindly drop them in the chat and we will attend to them as soon as possible.
All right. Now that introductions are out of the way, I have other colleagues. Okay, yes, I can see Bethel on the call as well. Hi, Bethel. You want to introduce yourself? Hi.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Hi. I'm Bertel from VC4A, and we're working together with VC4A to support the implementation of the develoP program in Nigeria. And very nice to meet all of you, and I'll possibly also pitch in later on when you have questions that need some answering. So over to you, Ajibika, and looking forward to hearing more.
All right, thank you very much, Bethel. Okay, so yes, we'll get right into the reason for this call today, which is the info session regarding the develoP Ventures program. The call for application launched on the 15th of May and is set to close on the 30th of June, which is about 7 days to go. So a lot of us here on this call have questions, are interested in the program, and you want to know more about it. As such, would have a presentation to run through the program and all the selection criteria that you need to have to be considered. Before we get into that, I want to get a sense of the people that are on the call, so you can drop your name and the problem that you're solving, maybe the name of the product in the chat box, and just to drive engagement and networking for people on the call today. I'll just go ahead and share my screen while that is being done. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. I can see people already dropping things in the chat box. Great, 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 great. Okay. What to drop in the chat box is your name and the problem that you're solving. Just to get a sense, maybe the name of the product, and yeah. All right. Okay, I can see, all right, Kosi says business intelligence at CAM Leverage Technology. Okay. Oh, I see Tayo Utiva. All right, great. Welcome. Okay, let's keep the message coming in the chat box. My colleague Jennifer will be watching out for that while I go on with the presentation. All right, thank you all. Okay, so we're here because of the develoP Ventures program, and I like to assume that a lot of us have seen the call for application. We've read through the program, and then we have an understanding that it's a growth funding initiative by BMC, which is being implemented by GIZ. And as Bethel mentioned, VC4A and VC4A are supporting the implementation in Nigeria. It is running in other West African countries currently, but we are here for the Nigerian call for application. Okay, all right. So what is the develoP Ventures program all about. During the course of this presentation, we'll run through what it's about, how to apply for the funding, and the contacts you can reach out to if you still need additional support, which I hope you won't have after this session. All right. Okay. So as I earlier stated, the Develop Ventures program is a growth funding initiative set to provide 100,000 euros funding for young businesses who are solving problems that are critical in our society today, but are also highly profitable and are scalable. Yeah, and the idea generally is that your business will be considered if you have generated turnover based on your proof of concept as at the time of this call for application. And the one of the criteria of the program is also that you have financiers who have invested their funds to have a matching fund for the growth funding that will be provided by the Develop Ventures program. And in case you're already wondering what is this matching funds all about, we'll get right into it during the course of this presentation. Okay. So as I mentioned also, the program is in Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, and now it's in Nigeria for the first time, which the call for application kicked off 15th of May and is set to close on the 30th of June, 7 days to go. So once we are done with this presentation, I hope you can get to applying and submitting your application before 30th of June, okay? So I also mentioned it's supposed to provide you with 100,000 euros funding for scaling up your product or service that is solving critical problems in the society today. All right. Please let's endeavor not to scribble on the presentation so that others can see clearly. Thank you. Okay, so the minimum requirements that is needed for you to be considered for this program is what we'll get into in this slide, where we'll touch on some of the minimum requirement that your company needs to have to be considered. And number one is to be registered in Nigeria. We understand that some startups within the country tend to register their organizations outside of the country, maybe to make them more attractive to foreign investments. However, for you to be considered for this opportunity, you need to be registered locally in Nigeria. That is, you have to have your CAC documents and other essential registration documents. You also need to be privately owned and profit-oriented. That is, non-profit organizations will not be considered for this growth funding. Only profit-oriented businesses that are privately owned. Yeah, I mean, you need to have a sound business plan. That is basic. You need to be able to provide at least one annual financial statement to be considered for this opportunity. So we've had, we've had people ask questions about, oh, I just started 6 months ago, and do I qualify to apply for this program? As you can see here, you need to be able to provide a 1-year financial statement as at the time of disbursement for this program. So it is essential that you've generated revenue during the course of a year, all right? You need to have adequate and sufficient management structure. That is pretty standard for any organization. We need to be able to trust that you have the right team to scale when you're provided with this funding. You need additional financiers, which is the matching funds. That is, we need to see that people have seen the viability and scalability of your product enough to invest their money into it. We'll get into the matching funds subsequently, but then you also need to, at the point of application, not have gotten more than 2 million euros funding. So if you have been funded to the tune of 2 million euros before now, you do not qualify for this opportunity. We feel like you've already scaled out of the bracket of the businesses we are trying to support with this opportunity. you also need to have a viable financial plan with potential to break even within the next 3 years to be considered for this opportunity. Okay. As I'm explaining all this, if you have questions during the course of my explanation, please drop them in the chat. My colleague Jennifer will be taking note of the questions to answer them subsequently. All right. So going into details with the matching funds requirements, which a lot of people are definitely curious about. So we had said before that to be considered for this opportunity, we are providing you with 100,000 euros equity-free funding, and as such require a matching fund to that same amount. That is, you need to have had 100,000 matching funds, and you could have had maybe more, just not more than the 2 million that we previously stated. Okay, so if you have 100,000 matching funds, you qualify to be considered for this opportunity. Now, it is stated here that the payment of this fund, so the next point would be that you should have received this fund up to 6 months prior to this call for application. Now, there is also the clause that if you are in the final stages of conversation with your investors and are likely to conclude the conversation in the next 2 months, that'll be sometime around September, you can also, that is, if you're strongly convinced that by September you would have received the funds, because here it says on the proof of receipt of that investment will determine the disbursement of this growth funding to your startup. Okay, I can already see hands being raised. So if you just pen down the question and hold on to it, we get to the end of the presentation so that we can have those questions answered. All right. So yeah, that's I've touched on the question for matching fund. All right, so other requirements to be met by your business with regards to your business model is highlighted in this slide. So it is required that to be considered for this support in the Develop Ventures program, your business model must be innovative in solving critical local problems. So because as I stated earlier, the program is set to provide growth funding to businesses that are scalable, profitable, and also making impact in line with sustainable development goals. So while we are keen on seeing that your solution, whether a product, whether a service is, highly profitable, there's potential to scale, it addresses a large market size. We're also looking to see that you're solving critical issues as relating to the SDG goals. Yeah, so, and yes, high growth potential, and we strongly encourage women-led companies to apply, because as much as it's not focused solely on women, we want to see gender parity in the call for application. All right. So any female founder on the call, strongly encouraged to apply. Yeah. So I'll go into practical examples. So I have had questions of people wondering, oh, my product is not leaning heavily on a software solution. Do I qualify to apply? So this practical example kind of give an insight into whether your company or your business can apply. Okay. So as I mentioned also earlier, that this program has been implemented in Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, and it's coming to Nigeria for the first time. The examples are going to be from Kenya, because that's where a complete cycle cohort has been completed. So the examples I'm stating are participants who benefited from this growth funding. All right. So the first example is Kudura, the social business in Kenya that is building electric mini grids in Western Kenya. All right. So even from the indication, I mean, there's technology involved in the construction of their mini grid. However, it's not leaning solely on a software solution, or it is solving a critical problem and it is generating revenue. This is just a few highlights of their impacts. Sorry. So during the course of their operation, which is around 2019 to 2020, they were able to provide 4,000 households with mini grid access and create 47 new jobs and help save 33 metric tons of carbon dioxide. Their market presence, they are now like one of the top Kenya private mini grid developers. And because of their profitability and scalability, they've been able to get investors to fund their solution in Kenya, right? You can see the project volume to the tune of 240,000 euros, okay? So if you're solving a problem that has a huge addressable market, there's potential for profit, yeah, and you're making impact in society, you fit the criteria. Now, the second example is a fintech. So that obviously is leaning heavily on its software to deliver its solution. So this is a fintech company also in Kenya that developed a digital management solution for public transport. And just a few highlights of their own impact as well. Okay, so their solution typically just helps the bus drivers to manage their route movement and funds collection from passengers. Okay, and through the course of their operation, which was in 2020, they were able to get, they were able to help 524 bus drivers have better working conditions with formal contracts. You know, they were able to, because they are not tracking the revenue generation through the routes management, they were able to, you know, get 40% more income for the bus companies and create 35 new jobs in the company and in partner companies. And the demand, the product itself is called Mobitil, and the demand, you know, for Mobitil in bus companies, you know, increased by 40%, yeah, okay. So if your business is solving problems in line with this, or if not specifically to this sectors in terms of clean tech or fintech, outside of these sectors, you are welcome to apply so long as you have an addressable market. We all know that transportation is a huge market size. Everybody is looking to move from one place to the other, so the demand is high. Yeah, so I'd move on to how to apply for the funding. All right. By running through the steps in the application cycle, the program cycle rather, sorry, yeah. So from the step one, which is the application, as I mentioned, the call for application went out on the 15th of May and it's been running through till the 30th of June. Today is 23rd, that leaves about 7 days to the close of the call for application. So if you haven't applied, I implore you to kindly do so as soon as we're done with this presentation so that you can make the cut for the call for application, okay? Now, the step two after the call for application phase has been completed entails the pre-selection stage where we review the documents you've submitted and just ascertain that what you've said is what it is, okay? And after that, a few people will be shortlisted to come pitch and, you know, defend their application. And after that, we move on to the step 4, where we would conduct due diligence site visits to each of the location of the selected participants of the program, where then what you have said indeed now needs to be what it is, all right? And after that is done, and we've ascertained that everything is checked, yeah, you get to move on to the contract signing phase, where you go into contract with BMC, GIZ, and we move on to the next stage, which everybody's probably excited about, the funding stage, where you get to receive the disbursement of the funds. And not only the funds, you also get to receive tailored technical assistance based on your business needs, because we're providing, the program is providing this growth funding to ensure that you can scale your impact and scale your profitability. So we want to provide you with the necessary support to be able to get there. All right. Now, somebody may be on this call and like, oh, I haven't gotten up to 100,000 euros matching funds yet, but I'm close. And as such, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Good news. This is the first cycle for this year. That's the call for application that is running from 15th of May through to the 30th of June. There will be another cycle before the year is up. Yay, excited much? All right. So the second cycle, the call for application will kickstart on the 15th of November and run through till the 31st of December. So if you've not finalized your investor conversations, now is the time to gear up and finalize the conversation so that you can meet the call for application for November through to December. So you're not left out. Great. All right. Does your startup promote gender equality? As I mentioned earlier, that we're strongly encouraging female founders, co-founders, to apply for this opportunity, because we would like to see a balance in gender composition during the selection phase. So if you feel, or if your solution is in some sort of way impacting gender equality and ensuring gender equality, you are highly encouraged to apply for this opportunity. Now, here's the link to go on and apply for the opportunity. My colleague will drop that in the chat box so that we can all go on there. And onto the contacts, the people to reach out to if you still have questions after this, which I hope you honestly do not have, but I'm happy to answer the questions, or Bettil and any other of my colleagues that can help you. So the telephone number to call, the email to send your inquiries to, here on the screen, which my colleague will also drop in the chat to help. All right. So with that, I have run through the presentation for the program. Thank you. And I would then open up the floor for questions and answers. So, do we have questions? All right. I can already see some questions in the chat box. Jesse is asking, what if your previous matching fund is less than? Okay, do you mind unmuting and asking your question so that I'm clear on what you're asking?
Hi, I didn't quite catch your name at the beginning. I didn't join at the start. So my name is Jesse. So I had a previous round, which is less than 100K. I'm working on another round now, which is it's going to be in dollars, but I don't know if when converted to euros will be more than 2 million. So, but it's still in very early stages. So I'm trying to find out if I can still apply in that condition. Based on the response in the chat box, the previous round was not up to 80K euros. But the next round will probably be close to 2 million euros.
Okay, I think my colleague already responded in the chat box, Bettil. He said once it's more than 2 million euros, you will not be considered for this opportunity. This is specifically for founders or companies who have not raised up to 2 million euros. I'll just give you an estimate of what it will be like in Naira so that you can also use that to just depose as you're making your calculations. Sorry?
I'll prefer in dollars.
All right, I'll also give you in dollars. So for the 100,000 euros, it's tuning to about 75,200,000 thereabouts. And for the 2 million euros in Naira, it's about 1,504,000,000 plus. Yeah. So for dollars, the 100,000 euros would be around $109,392. Yeah, you know, the conversion rate keeps changing, so it might fluctuate a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for the 2 million, that would be let me drop that in the chat for you, just to ensure I'm giving the right figures for the 2 million euros in dollars. I have for Naira, not in dollars. Yeah, all right. Okay. I hope that has answered your question, Jeff C. All right, moving on. Somebody asked another question. Abdul Malik says grants instead of investment. I think you're asking, is grants instead of investment supported? Betsy, can I invite you to answer this question?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So what is really important here is that this program is trying to support early stage entrepreneurs. So I think the person who was raising 2 million at this point, even if it's dollars or euros, that means that if you're able to secure that, you're way above the sort of level that we're trying to support with this program. So this program is really targeting at the early stage companies that are raising roughly 100,000, maybe a little more in this program, and then adds 100,000 for the company to be able to have more money in the bank, implement more activities, hire more employees, just be able to scale faster, while at the same time also get access to technical assistance from experts who will help you tackle the most pressing problems and needs that you have in your company. And so the grant question is, it is possible to add a grant money that you've gotten from another source into the mix to get to the 100,000, but it cannot be fully a grant. So what is said is that 50% of the 100,000 can come from a grant, which means the 50,000 euro can come from a grant, but then you still need to show that you have convinced another investor to support your project. And so when you really break it down to the essence, it can be 50,000 grant and then 50,000 from an angel investor or from a VC fund or from another source of somebody who believes in your business. What this program does not want to do is to fund your business as the only source of money. They want to match it. So I also saw a question in the chat that somebody was asking, what does matching fund mean? It's actually just doubling the amount that you have been able to raise by yourselves, and without indeed giving away more equity, like Ajibika was already referring to. So you have a deal with an investor. It might be topped up with a little bit of grant money, and then that money is then doubled by the program up to 100,000. So if you have raised 200,000, you can get 100,000. It's not going to double the 200,000. It's doubling the 100,000. Now, some people have said, "Well, I've raised 90,000. What does that mean?" That is still eligible with a threshold of what I also put into the chat of 80,000 euro. So if you have raised 80,000 euro, you can still apply. And if you make it to the selection, we will double that amount. So you will get an 80,000 then from the program. That then also counts for 85 or 90 or 95 up to 100,000. I hope that answers your question. So it is possible to put in some grant money to get to that amount, but only half of the amount is can be grant money. the other money has to be commercial investment money. Yeah. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, Betil. I think it did. It did. Yeah, Abdul Malik, if you're on the call, you can also affirm that you have gotten clarity. All right. So your second question was on bank statement instead of an audited financial report. We're happy to receive both. You know, as we said, we would also be conducting due diligence to look through all this documentation. So if you have both your bank statements and your audited financial reports, you can upload both during the course of the call for application. Okay. Your third question was on multiple grants combined and eligible for matching funds supported. I think Betil has already answered that with minimum of 50% can be the grant composition, while 50% is the equity fund composition. All right. Nosayem, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, says, is there a minimum amount one can apply for? So the grant, the growth funding is fixed, is 100,000 euros. But as Betil explained, now that if you have up to 80% of that, that's 80,000 euros as matching fund, you'll be matched with the 80. So the maximum you can get is the 100. So it's not like you're going to be stating this is the amount I want. So yeah. The next question, Zainab Abdin says, what about grants that get to 100? Can it be considered as a matching fund? That has been answered. You need to have 50% of your matching fund made up of grants, while 50% is equity funding. And Izine asks, what do you mean by matching fund? I hope Betil's explanation has clarified that for you. This indicates if you need additional clarity. Can you send the presentation and the recording, please? Yusuf is asking. Yes, we would share the link to the recording after the call with all who registered for the call. Somebody says, Abdulwasiu, what about startups about to get pre-seed funding? Okay, so as I stated earlier, if you have not raised any funds at this point, you do not qualify for this particular cycle, but you can work towards applying for the second cohort of the call for application later in the year, starting on the 15th of November, running through till 31st of December. There's
one small thing to be said about that. If you are very close to closing that round, you can still apply, but then you need to be in advanced talks, as Ajibika also mentioned before, and it can help maybe to push investors over the hurdle, right? Like if they know that if they invest 100,000, it will be doubled. You're basically extending your runway, which is good for the investor too, because you will have a bigger chance of getting results. So you can apply if you're in advanced talks with investors. If you're not, then indeed it's better to wait until the next round when you possibly are in these talks. So don't apply if you're not in any advanced talks, but if you are, you can apply if it is, likely to result in a closed round in the next 2 months.
All right, thank you, Betil. Izine is asking, can bank statements represent financial statements? At this point of the call for application, yes, but during the due diligence, you might be required to have your audited financial reports. All right. More explanation on this matching fund. Caller, can you confirm that as at the time that Betil explained, you still have questions on the matching fund? Is there a difference between equity raise and debt raise? I'll leave this to Betil.
No, it can also be debt. So if you have raised this money by securing a loan from a bank or from private investors, it's also possible. It's just that most of the companies that are raising that we're also targeting in this program have a tech or tech-enabled business model that we usually see that banks are not providing loans to companies like that because they don't have a lot of collateral to offer. And so therefore, most typically the investments are equity investments into the businesses that we see. But loans or debt is also eligible. So it's just that we don't see it so often for the program, but it's possible.
All right, thank you, Betsil. Some hands were raised earlier. If your questions have not been answered so far, do you mind unmuting and asking your questions while all right.
Yeah, my name is Michael. I wanted to find out, how do we actually even apply? I have an account on the develop dashboard, and I can see different options, and it's not clear which one it is to actually click on. There's the DJ Impulse Classic 2023-2, there's the Ventures 2023-1, there's the GIZ Classic 2023-2, and GIZ Ventures 2023-1. So we're not really clear which one to click on to apply. Can you please clarify?
It's the GIZ Ventures 2023-1.
Got it. All right then. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kosi. My question is if the 2 million euros funding cap includes all sorts of funding, so including like angel investment, friends and family, grants, debt, or does it have limits that it's only like restricted to grants and debts?
Okay, so as been explained before, that 50% of the funding, the matching funds, needs to be either grants or family and friends raising, but 50% needs to account for equity investment. The reason that equity investment is pivotal in your matching fund is that it shows investors who are looking to get return on investment have seen the scalability and profitability of your product or business enough to invest their funds into it. And it's not just family and friends who love you irrespective of just giving you money to go and do the business. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about not the matching funds now, but obviously the 2 million cap of how much you should have ever received. I'm asking if it's limited to any kind of funding, or if it's limited to like grants or debts, or if it includes as well like non-dilutive funding.
Let me invite Betsil to answer that again.
Yeah, as I just said, it can also be debt, and it can be partly grants, but it has to be raised in the past 6 months. So I also see a question in the chat about, is this money that has been raised since the inception of the company? No, it has to be what we call fresh funding, and most of it should also still be in the bank account. So when the match funding is coming in, it's actually doubling the amount that you still have to spend on your expansion and operations, with the technical assistance on top. So you will be supported by experts who can help you to spend the money wisely, if you really break it down to the essence. So it's not just the cash, it's the expertise and advice that comes with it that we believe will give you a better chance of actually scaling up your operations moving forward. So yes, grants, and that is possible to add into the mix. It can also be a bit of a grant, a bit of debt, and a bit of equity investment, if that's the case, totaling up to at least 80,000 euro raised in the last 6 months.
I think our question is regarding the 2 million euros, and so if your financials is going to indicate that you've received funding pumped into the business operation to the tune, because then you're no longer at the early stage that we're looking to work with in this program. So I think that pretty much.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Then I misunderstood the question. Okay. Yeah, indeed. Then you're too advanced for the program.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if like 1.5 million of that is like from friends and family. I'm just trying to confirm.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other question that wants to unmute and ask while I run through the ones in the chat? Noah is asking, are there minimum financial metrics, profit margin, MRR required? Not at the stage of the point for the call for application, as long as you can show your annual statement of account with or without the audited financial reports at this point of the call for application, it's fine. It's when we are doing the due diligence that we'll be looking into your financial metrics in detail. Ezine is asking, can this matching fund come from sales of products? Betty, what do you think?
No, it has to be external capital that is put into the business.
All right, Ezine, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I see here that you're still asking about the matching fund. Isn't it? Are you still on this call? Can you unmute and respond? Isn't it Nwakuba? Sorry.
Yes, good morning all. I'm still on the call. Right. Honestly, I don't understand much about the matching fund. This is my first time of coming in line with it. So I felt it's something that you've been doing business, you have to apply for it. I didn't even know that it's equity free funding or something. I don't know much about it. So I felt maybe from what you have, they will just add up to it. So I don't know how it's being calculated, how the matching fund works. That's what I want to know about. But I heard him say something like the money has to be in your account. Like if for them to give you 100,000, you must have 100,000 in your bank account. I don't understand.
Okay, so as we've explained, the matching fund is a fund that you need to have, and as I said, in your account, or at least up to 60 or 80% of it is still in your account as at the time of disbursement for it to be the matching fund. The matching fund is required to be 50% grant, debt, and 50% equity funding, because the equity is necessary. That we see that investors, people who are investing in businesses that are viable, scalable, profitable, have looked at your business and seen the promise of getting a return on investment to now put their funds into your business. So it's not money that you've saved up over time. Are you with me, Ezine?
Yes, I am.
All right. So it needs external investment. However, if you have grant funding that can make up the 50% composition as well, that would suffice, as long as you have the 50% equity funding to match up.
But if I take loan of this 50%, like take loan of this 50%, does it make up to the 100%, 100K? Does it make it up?
Betty, you want to say something?
A loan of 50K is not 100K, so no. You need to bring in the 100,000 to qualify for 100,000 matching fund. So it's really to catalyze businesses that are already convincing others that they are worth investing into. And then this program is adding the grant on top with the technical assistance. So it's not a funding program that is funding businesses from the get-go. It is just to help accelerate businesses that are already on a growth trajectory and that are able to convince other investors to invest into the business.
So I'll just suggest, Ezine, you can reach out to support at the VentureSpark to get a better understanding of what matching funding. Maybe we can help you prepare for future opportunities, because maybe you do not yet fit the criteria for the opportunity yet. All right. Folusha is asking, is the matching fund the capital raise since the inception of, okay, Bethel already answered, no, in the last 6 months. How many companies from Nigeria for this cohort? And Bethel already answered again. 10 will be invited to pitch. From this group, a selection will be made who would go on to the program next stage, which is the due diligence. Noah is asking, are there any minimum financial metrics required by applicants? What specific trends are you looking out for? Bethel, do you want to answer? I think I answered this question earlier.
Noah, if you're still on the call, maybe you can also clarify what do you mean by the minimum financial metrics? Do you mean revenue?
Hello. So minimum financial metrics in terms of monthly recurring revenue, profit margins, any minimum requirements around that, and also what trends going.
No, so the minimum requirement is that you have a product or service in the market. So it's not an idea stage, just thinking about it kind of stage. You really are selling your product or service, but it can be a small number. It's not that you have to have a certain revenue per month or per year to be eligible. It's just important that you have a proof of concept, that you show that there's something there, and that you're also
Bethel, apologies, I got kicked out from the call for a few minutes. And so I do not have the chat history anymore. So if you have questions that have not been answered, you can unmute and ask your questions.
Okay, so I was going to ask a question. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so for the matching fund, the 100,000 euro, must it be in cash? Say, for instance, some investors might say, okay, I want to give you 100,000 euros, but we're giving you, let's say, 70,000 in cash and maybe 30,000 to, let's say, 100,000 or even above. So does that also qualify? Or must it be in cash, just 100,000?
Like it was said earlier, the threshold is 80,000. So if it's 80,000 in cash and the rest in technical assistance, that's eligible, but you will only be matched with the 80,000 that you've received in cash. So any in-kind support or other kind of support that you're getting is not then put on top. So it's really cash, yes. To answer your question, it's cash.
All right, thank you.
It can be debt, it can be equity, and it can be partly a grant if that's applicable in your case. But the best case, or the most the most likely case that we're looking at, is an equity investment by angel investors or VC investors or impact investors.
All right, we have 2 additional raised hands. You can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, thank you for the insights. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we
I'm
can.
Tom from Kenya.
Our Kenyan friend.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I missed the Kenyan one. I think it was at 10 Kenyan East African time.
I dropped the recording in the chat, so you can still watch that if you want.
Thank you so much. My question is, how many ventures do you support annually per country?
So
And
we have two calls per year in a country. So this is the first one for the year, and then the second one opens up on November 15th.
Okay.
And for each call, we select 10 companies that are being asked to pitch. And from those 10, we make a selection of the companies that go to the due diligence stage. In companies that then make it into the due diligence stage. And if everything checks out, then they are admitted. Happen often, but the due diligence phase is quite intense. Also a visit to your company and lots of interviews and requests for additional information. So 5 to 7 cycles per country per year.
So how long does the process take?
From applying to the final selection, I would say it's somewhere between 4 to 5 months.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Two people raised hands earlier. So the second person, you can unmute and ask your question. Whilst that is happening, someone is asking, is software credit considered as grants? That's saying no. Sorry. Is software credit considered as grants? Betul.
Software credits?
Yes.
Like AWS credits or
yes.
Microsoft Azure credits? That would be a new case, a special case, I would say. It's something to look into. Who
mute and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I was saying like software credit, like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud credit services. That's what I'm talking about.
Can you elaborate? Like how large is this credit and how did you acquire it?
Yes, by going into an accelerator, for example, or an incubation program.
Okay, yeah. And then are we talking about a large amount or relatively smaller?
Key credit, 200K or 25K credit.
$50K?
Yes, $50K.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting case. It's something I need to honestly I need to check out with the team. I would say a grant that is in the form of services is not a grant that you can spend on hiring a team, for instance. But of course, if you're a software business, it can definitely reduce your running cost. And that in that way, it can save up the money that you would otherwise spend on your cloud services that can then be spent on something else. So it's an interesting case, and we can get back to you if you send. So everybody who has this as a question, please send a message to the Ventures Park team. And we will internally talk about that and then get back to you as soon as we can. Because I haven't heard this guess before, but it's a very good question. So we'll get back to you on that.
All right, thank you, Betty. I have dropped the email to send a message to regarding those who have the software credits. Please kindly send an email so that we can. Michael Patrick says, can organization apply? Could you unmute and ask that question for better clarity? When you say organizations, we're talking about businesses and organizations. So, Prosper, Michael Patrick, you can unmute and ask your question. Like, just give clarity as to what you mean by organization. How is it different from what we've been talking about? What should be the minimum traction of a startup applying? So we had stated during the course of the presentation that you should have been generating revenue for a minimum of a year, because you'll be required to submit your financial statement showing the revenue generated during that period to ensure that you indeed have a proof of concept in market. All right. Adewale Adeyemo is asking, we've received a term sheet from an investor for $50K, but they won't wire till ending of July. Yes, you can, as long as, I mean, aside from that $50K, do you have additional funding to meet up to like 80,000 euros? If you do, yes, please go on and apply, because as I said, it's either you've gotten your matching fund at least 6 months before the call for application, or you are likely to receive it in the next 2 months, which is till September. So yeah, Adewale Adeyemo, go on. Yes.
Okay,
yeah, you're welcome. Abdullah Mohammed Bature is asking a question similar to Abdulaziz about Azure credits. Please send an email to support@theventurespark so that we can provide you feedback subsequently. Clifford is asking, is a company raising capital raised from crowdfunding qualified? Betty, what do you think?
Yeah, usually that happens through crowdfunding platforms, and most likely that then happens in the form of equity crowdfunding. So the people who invest also become partly owner of the business, or they give the company a loan basically with an interest that's then paid back. So I would see it as either an equity or a debt finance model, and that's definitely eligible.
All right. So the next question, Irelua says, thank you for that enlightening. Do you fund skill acquisition programs? That's it.
I think this is more a question to maybe VentureSpark. Do you do, if you have skill acquisition programs? This program is again focused on technical assistance and funding for existing growth stage businesses. So I think this is not we don't fund skill acquisition programs as part of this program.
All right. So you can send an email to support@theventurespark to see opportunities that might come up that we can share with you for funding skill acquisition. All right. Prosper Ukachi, do we need matching funds from another funder? If so, what type of matching funds? We have up to $100K in technical matching funds from a partner. So I think this has been answered before. You have $100K. Is it in cash or in technical support? If it is not in cash, you need to have a portion of it in cash to qualify for the matching funds that this program requires. So if all the $100K is in technical matching funds, then it doesn't meet the criteria. So if you have additional funds that can now be added on to the matching fund that is required, then you can be considered. I hope that answers your question, Prosper.
Sorry, what would you say is the additional? So we have 100K in technical matching funds, which means it's a team that would be attached to ours to help us when it comes to scaling. But what would you say would be something we should have as cash in extra, as a buffer or something? Okay, so that's 180K.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but to note that if you have the 80K, then you'll be matched with 80K because the matching funds is meant to be cash. Prosper, I hope you got that last part.
Yeah, of course.
All right, okay. Okay, so Ayodeji is asking about software. Okay, he's not asking, he's making a comment. Software credit is definitely interesting as it has supported our company in a small deal. So I feel maybe you're on that, right? The people asking about software credit, you can send an email to support@theventurespark. Joy Honora says, this session has been pretty informative. Many thanks to the VentureSpark team. And yes, I love your voice. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so any other person with questions that want to unmute and ask or drop in the chat so that we can wrap up the call. We are already, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so I wasn't able to be part of the program at the beginning. So I want to know the type of businesses. For example, we're in EdTech, but also a cross-section of employment. Are we still eligible? So all we do is recruitment, but in an EdTech space. That's something that's also eligible.
Yeah, so we went through a presentation that stated that the program is sector agnostic. That is, it's not restrictive on sectors or, industries, as long as you have a product service that is addressing a large market size, that is, there's potential to scale and you're highly profitable and you're making impact in society. So from your question, you said you are facilitating employment, so you're reducing unemployment rate in society. So yeah, you do fit the criteria as long as you meet the other criteria as well. Prosper, answered?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and Betty has helped with the assessment criteria in the chat box, so you can just take a look through that. Okay, any other question? While we anticipate any other question, I'll just ask my colleague to once again drop the link to the application in the chat box.
Please, I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry I want to understand something. In this part of the world, the kind of business we do, this program is something that will take up to 3 to 4 months. And in a situation whereby you have an investor that you're talking to that is about wrapping up with, and the person puts in money into your hand to run business. From my own side of understanding, you keep the money because you want to get an investment from a platform for like 3 to 5 months coming. The money will just be in the bank, not doing anything, not generating money. I think is not something that works for this part of the country. Why don't we look at it from the aspect that if you see this investment into the account, or you saw it in the statement and they are using it running already, it will make more sense, because investors will not like to give you money to keep the money in the bank for 3 months because you're expecting another money to come in up to 5 months. The money is lying fallow. Please, I need a clearer understanding, because to me, I feel I'm not comfortable with this. I just want to understand better. Sorry if this thing is disturbing you today. I'm sincerely sorry about that, but I need clarity.
No problem at all, Ezine. We totally understand, and the session is held so that people can ask questions and we can answer them. Okay, so whilst we understand the perspective with which you have presented us on keeping the money fallow in your account, which is why we said we are not asking to have 100% of the money to have remained in your account during the time that the investors have disbursed out the money to you. However, we want to see that when we provide you with the growth funding, it can help to amplify or catalyze the scale of with which you can scale your operations, make more impact in society, and still remain highly profitable without having to give off stake in your company to get that kind of funding. That's what we are looking to do with this program. So it's not necessarily the 100% of the money that is staying in your account for that entire period. And ideally, when you're receiving investor funding, they are not expecting you to disburse out the money or expend the money all at once. So there's usually a timeline, a financial plan with which you intend to utilize the funds that has been provided, and it usually follows a period of time. So typically it's not anything out of the ordinary asking to have that money in your account. Betty, do you have something to add? Or?
Yeah, I think it was just mentioned in this context of the fresh funding. So one of the reasons why the program wants this money to be raised relatively, in a relatively short time before the match funds is assigned to the company, is that we want the part of the money still be available for the activities that are going to be implemented while the technical assistance is also given, right? So technical assistance, what it's doing is that you will be helped and supported by people that have built businesses themselves, that have a deep understanding of the Nigerian market, that have contacts that you might need to get into conversations with people you need in your industry to grow further. And so the idea is that the money that you have already received is not completely depleted. It's not completely your bank account is not completely empty. So I understand what you're saying is that you cannot wait for 4 or 5 months and just sit on the money. No, but it should also not be entirely gone by the time that the matching funds come in. So I think that that's the balance we're talking about. So thanks for your comment, Aznin.
All right, thank you, Bethel. I hope that has answered you, Ezini. And any other question as we bring the call to a close? My colleague has once again dropped the link to the application in the chat. Kindly proceed there and start your application so you can submit by the 30th of June. And if you have additional questions, you can send them to support@theventures.park. Someone has added another question now. Okay, Bethel already answered. Does it mean a company with a match fund of thank you? It's not qualified. All right, yeah. Okay, so on that note, if there are no additional questions, we'd like to bring the call to a close. Bethel, right? Or should we stay? All right, okay. Yes, Deborah is asking about getting the recording of this meeting. Yes, a link of the session will be sent to everyone who registered for the call, so you can catch up on anything that you might have missed from the beginning of the presentation till now. And we look forward to receiving your applications and seeing you participate in the program. Prosper Kachi, I think this question has been answered earlier. Is the match fund? Sorry. Yes, go on.
Okay. Thank you. Betty said earlier that skills acquisitions are not eligible, but assuming is a talent accelerator where the let's say, for example, they are trained in a particular skill and also given the platform to start earning from their skills. including, so it's not just skills, but both skills and platform as well as resources. Would that qualify as key acquisition, or is something creating income and creating jobs?
Okay, so I will refer you back to the application criteria, which says your business model should have high growth potential. That is, there is opportunity to generate high volume revenue and scale at, you know, to be able to scale, to be scalable. Yeah. So if your business fits that criteria, then thumbs up. You are good to apply for the opportunity. Clifford, does that answer you?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Joseph, if the startup doesn't have any funds but raising funds from their B2B, do you mind unmuting and asking this question? Joseph Matthew. Oh, okay. Bethel needs to go. All right. Joseph Matthew, if so if the startup doesn't have any funds, I mean, you need to be generating revenue to qualify for this opportunity. So I mean, no, I think you need to be generating revenue because you're going to show financial statements to qualify. All right. Okay, on that note, we would be bringing this call to a close. A lot of questions that are coming up now have been answered over and over again. So we'll send the link to everyone so that they can catch up on what has been said before now so as to avoid repetition. Thank you all for joining the call. We look forward to seeing your applications and seeing you be a part of the program and creating more impact in our society. Do enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now. Thank you all.